Yes, welcome, my Think Spot friends. Welcome, friends, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is Sunday edition of the Rick Smith Show, our Q&A, where we reach out, we try and talk to some of our Think Spot friends with the idea that we're going to get something done. I've had this view for a long time that regardless of who you voted for the last election, and look, Donald Trump and Giuliani and the rest of them are, well, they're doing what they're doing. And I'm hoping that there are people who are looking at it and going, this is a bit much. You doth protest too much. They're court decision after court decision. And these are Republican judges doing this. There's no, these are Obama judges or these are Bill Clinton judges. A lot of these are Trump judges saying you just haven't brought us evidence. It's one thing to kick and scream and say we were cheated, we were robbed. It's one thing to do that, but it's another thing to go, here are the facts. And the more Giuliani runs around with these, caricatures of witnesses, the more bizarre the Republican Party looks and the kookier they look. And I got to hope that there are people who are looking at this going, not quite sure I want these people leading for another 4 years, even if there was a miracle. And the governor of Georgia did exactly what Donald Trump wanted him to do, which was, to basically cancel the election and install him as king. You gotta wonder, do people really want this guy as the leader, considering we are in the middle of a global pandemic? It is raging. I mean, this is the thing that gets me. We're in the middle of a raging pandemic. It is happening right before our very eyes. It is ugly. It is nasty. I'm talking to people across the country who are saying, look, people are dying. And yet I don't see anything coming out of this administration in the way of actually getting things accomplished. And this is the scary part to me, because while they're throwing their temper tantrum, while they're having their fit, while they're doing all of the things that they're doing, the rest of us are struggling. The rest of us are having real problems. And, this is one of those moments where, I hope that we as a country begin to wake up to the reality that the people who are in charge right now, unfortunately, do not have our interests in mind at all. They've got nothing in mind for us other than they lost. It's temper tantrum time. And I mean, that's all I can come to. It's now temper tantrum time. And we're going to throw our fit. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions. If you got a comment, I'd love to hear it. You can give us a call here, 717-422-5215. Love to hear that. But, are you watching what the administration is doing at this moment? Are you paying attention to just how far they're going to change the subject? Because we're in this moment, and this is what's frustrating to me. And I don't know about you. And look, if there's somebody who truly believes Donald Trump was robbed, I want to hear it. And I want to hear the evidence. Point me in the direction. And none of the conspiracy stuff that Hugo Chavez came back from the dead to rig the computers. Because look, I've been complaining about the magic boxes for years. I'm a huge fan of hand-marked paper ballots. That's the way we should be moving towards the future. But if you got real evidence, and so far, Rudy Giuliani has gone to here to Pennsylvania, where I'm at, had his super spreader event, where one of the state senators here got it, and who knows how many others. He went to Arizona, he's gone to Michigan, he's traipsing the tantrum tour all over the place, and in every place it gets more bizarre. And there's no evidence. And he's lost, Trump's lost, what is it, 30, 40, 50 court battles? But here's my problem. And again, going back to this this getting things done frame of mind. The election's over in my view. It's done. I haven't spiked the football. I'm not gloating that Trump lost. I'm happy he's gone. I can't wait for Joe Biden to come in. I can't wait for a president who I'm not going to have to be worried every day what kind of insanity comes out, and someone who I do believe will listen, especially to the plight of people who are struggling to make ends meet, especially to the plight of the people who are going to be harmed because of the last several months. And at this point, blaming Donald Trump for it or saying he did everything right doesn't matter to me at this point anymore. The election's over. In 45 days, he's going to be out, and we're going to have a new administration. Now it's about how we clean up the mess. And I'm done with blame. It's now how do we move forward, and who do we hold accountable moving forward? For me, it's that simple. Now on Friday, they came up with, and this is the part that gets me. They came up with the new job numbers. The new job numbers that pointed out that we created another 245,000 jobs, or added. I don't know that they created, but 245,000 jobs. The thing is that what they were expecting was 440,000, so well below expectation. And they said, well, we've created jobs each of the last 7 months. Yeah, because those couple of months were really bad. The biggest job losses in the history of the country, pretty much. We're still 10 million jobs off of where we were in February. So we could be adding jobs from now until the end of the Biden term, and we probably won't come up with those 10 million jobs. I hope we do. I want to see those jobs come back. Manufacturing, we're still down over something like 600,000 jobs. But somehow, miraculously, the unemployment rate went down from 6.9 to 6.7%. And that's not good news, because that means 400,000 people left the workplace, dropped out of the labor force, went into something else, who knows what. But somehow, miraculously, people who once had jobs and don't have jobs are no longer counted as people without jobs, which is insane to me. But in the mindset that we need to get things done is we still haven't gotten a stimulus package moved through. We still don't have something that's going to help prop up this economy from collapse. Because understand, the stimulus packages that came back in the spring got us through the summer and into the part where we're at now. And there was supposed to be another one. There was supposed to be, this is the beginning of helping us get through this. And the fact that we still haven't gotten another one speaks volumes to where the Republicans are. And I blame Mitch McConnell for this, because there is a piece of legislation that has been passed, a $3.2 trillion HEROES Act that Democrats passed back in May, came into the Senate back in May, and has died. Now you go, well, Rick, that was $3.2 trillion. It's way too much. And we can argue over that, whether that's true. What have the Republicans in the Senate come forth with? Nothing. They haven't passed a competing bill. Now, as I said all summer long, this I think is Mitch McConnell's way of backstabbing Trump, because I do believe had McConnell passed that $3.2 trillion stimulus, the economy would be red hot at this moment. We would have hired a lot of people back. There'd have been a lot of money for people to make it through this period without worrying about being homeless, without worrying about squandering their savings, without any of that stuff. And Trump would have walked through re-election. His name would have in giant letters, would have been all over checks. They'd have sent out letters, would have saved the post office, because he'd be sending out letters reminding us constantly that he sent us money. And for some reason, McConnell didn't do that. For some reason, the Republicans didn't push forward on that. And we can speculate all day. Was it that they're trying to get rid of Trump? Was it that they really did think it was too much? That it wasn't enough for their special interest? We can argue all day. At the end of the day, they didn't get it done. They have failed us. And here at the end of December, in fact, the day after Christmas, so Merry Christmas to the 19 million people who are officially unemployed, and then the other 7.1 million who are working reduced hours. Merry Christmas, because any help that you were getting day after Christmas is cut off. Extended unemployment gone, the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions gone, and still nothing coming out of the Senate. Now you go, well, Rick, they've got that idea for the $908 billion plan, and you go, that's a starting point. Did they pass it? Oh no. What about the $500 billion one that McConnell claims Trump will sign? No. So to me, all that's speculation. Pass me something. Let's get it into markup. Let's get into committee. Let's get let's get the bills together so that we can actually get something accomplished. Now, sadly, I do believe Donald Trump has no interest in passing anything. I don't think McConnell has any interest in passing anything because and this is, again, I hate feeling this way, but I think they want to make things so bad for Joe Biden when he comes in that they get nothing else done but saving us from catastrophe. That's the thinking. And it, as someone who considers myself somewhat compassionate, that's really messed up. And if you voted for these people, is this what you voted for? Now, look, they may be playing the 51% game. Half the country's doing really well. They are. Half the country's doing pretty good. In fact, I know a lot of people who are doing better this year than they did the year before because they did get a little bit. They got the $1,200. Their costs have gone down because they're not doing a whole bunch of other things. So they're actually saving money. So they're actually doing okay because their jobs were able to adjust. They're not one of the 19 million unemployed right now or the 7.1 million underemployed. They're not those people. So I guess it's easy to go, the heck with them. Doesn't matter. Not a big deal. But you stop and you look at what's going to happen. And this isn't me speaking. This isn't a working class liberal. This isn't an old white guy. This is someone who reads the smart people, the economists, who are saying we most certainly need a pretty bold stimulus because this isn't going away anytime soon. We're heading into the worst part of the pandemic, which, from the beginning, and this is the part that gets me where people go, I didn't know it was going to get this bad. From the beginning, this is when they said it was going to be bad. This was the part we were supposed to be building for over the summer. This is what we were supposed to be preparing for over the summer when things get really bad. And this is the problem with having one party who believes that in magical thinking, that things will just disappear on their own, and the other that gets painted as the mommy nanny party. And in some cases, Democrats can be the mommy nanny party. But guess what? There are times when you need that. There are times when you need common sense, when you need someone to go, maybe you shouldn't do that. And nobody listened to them over the summer. And Republicans did nothing. They had their super spreader events, which has only made it worse for us. In fact, Trump just last night had a giant super spreader event in Georgia. And, defiant of the governor, defiant of sanity, defiant of rational thought, defiant of the CDC. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, maybe once Joe Biden comes into office, maybe some of that will tamp down a little bit. But I don't think so. Because I see crazy people like the senator here in Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano, who had his super spreader event and is going to run for governor in 2022. I see a whole another generation of anti-science and pro-magical thinkers running for office. And the Trump supporters getting behind them. This is the weird moment where there can be a new coalition of voters, where there can be a new coalition of people like me who want to get things done, who may not agree on every issue, but there are places where we can agree. And for me, everything for me comes back to economics. We can deal with all those other problems when our kids are fed, when everybody's got a roof over their heads, when work is rewarded, when we have a broad, prosperous working class. where if you work hard, you play by the rules, you get ahead. All of our other problems can be addressed when you don't have mass poverty, when you don't have child hunger, when you don't have veterans homeless in the streets, when you don't have all of these other problems that the way our economy is divvied up, the way our economics is played out, is creating and making these worse. Now, I'm not talking about everybody equal. Because you get that from people. Well, you're a Marxist. No, I'm someone who says that if you work hard, you play by the rules, you should get ahead. That you should get something for the labor that creates the wealth that makes rich people really stinking rich, especially in this time of automation and everything being computerized. There are so many opportunities, and yet, well, not so much happening. So as I was looking today at some interesting numbers, and someone had asked me, what the unionization rates and what unions in other countries are like. And I came across, this report from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD. They point out that in France, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, they say in France, 98% of the workers are covered by union contracts. I said 95. I was close, but they're at 98% of the workers are covered by unions. In Sweden, 90% of the workers are covered by unions. In Germany, 56% of the workers are covered by labor contracts. Canada, over 25% of the workers there are unionized. And you come here to the U.S., and you're looking at less than 10%. And we have much bigger gaps between the haves and the have-nots. In France, in Germany, in Canada, much more equal societies, much less problems with the things that we've been talking about, high poverty rates, high homelessness rates, all of the negative stuff. So the more unequal we become, the more angry we become because we're struggling more. The more our standard of living goes down and the more anxiety goes up. So for me, fixing that problem is a way forward. And unionizing is a huge part of what I believe we need to be doing to move us forward. We also need to raise the minimum wage, and that comes from having a strong labor force, strong labor unions to push for those higher floors. In Denmark, the minimum wage there, the average wage in Denmark for a low-skilled worker is over $24 an hour. The average wage for a low wage worker in Belgium is like 25 something an hour. Or here in the U.S. it's 10.33. Our minimum wage obviously is 7.25, but you get that next step up. You got a little bit of, you show up on time, you do your job, they give you a little bit more. I don't know how you live on $400 a week. I don't. I'm sorry. But yet, like I said, in countries like Belgium and Denmark, you're looking at $24 an hour. Germany's over 18. Canada's over 14. We're just over 10. And you wonder why we have this anger. And I look at the people who show up to some of these Trump rallies. I look at some of the people who I know who are Trump supporters. And they're struggling. They're angry that they're struggling. And they're not wrong. There was an interesting video that was making its way around the Twitters. And it was one of those things that, I agreed with the guy at the beginning. He crashed a newscast where he was standing in the back and, waving his arms and stuff. And the guy finally got the guy's attention and he turned around and the guy said, look, I'm a business owner. I own this business and our government's done nothing for me. They bail out big corporations, they bail out the special interests, but they've done nothing for me. He goes, I'd shut down for 6 weeks if they'd pay me, but they haven't paid me. And then he veered into the, it's tyranny and it's, oppression and, all of the buzzwords that the right keeps throwing out. He's not wrong, though. And I said while we were in lockdown, there should be a program in place that if you are out of work because of the virus, if they shut things down to protect we the people, they should pay at least 90% of what you were making, regardless of what you were doing. And we can go back the last 3 years of tax returns and go, okay, you were a gig worker. Here's 3 years worth of tax returns. Here's an average of that. We're going to make sure by week you get that. But that's not what we've done, and we haven't even set up that system in the months that we were supposed to be catching up because it's coming again. We're losing about, between 2,000 and 2,500 people each and every day right now. By January 1st, by Inauguration Day, they're saying by January 1st, January 21st, they're saying sometime in that period, we're going to be losing 3,000 people or more each and every day. So I ask, how do we bridge the insanity divide? How do we reach out to people who may not agree with who we voted for in the last election? And how do we move past that? Because I do believe there are things that no matter who you voted for in the last election, that we agree on. And I'm not so arrogant, I'm not so set in my ways that I'm going to say, if you voted for Trump, I'm never going to talk to you again. You're going to have to completely disavow yourself and do an act of contrition to get in my good graces again. I'm not that guy. How do we work together? How do we move forward? How do we get things done? Because I'll tell you, I don't know anyone who's thrilled with the mass unemployment we've got. I don't know anyone who's thrilled with the system that we have in place for unemployed workers, especially. You know what's amazing to me? I've talked to a couple people who have never had to collect unemployment before. And in their mind, unemployment was like, it was the lap of luxury. They had believed that in the past, when people would go on unemployment, they were just lazy, and it was so generous that nobody wanted to go out and find a job, and it was a lifestyle, and all of the the frames that we've heard from the Lindsey Grahams of the world and the business interests who want to force people into crappy wage jobs. And oddly enough, I've found people who have said, I didn't realize it barely replaces half of my income. I can't live on unemployment. I got the extra couple $100 from the government, and that was great. It helped, but still didn't pay my health insurance. Didn't pay into my 401k. Didn't do anything to really move me forward. It just kept me from falling too far. And that's what unemployment's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that hand up that helps you move into the next job. And I've been saying for years, we need to make it much more generous so that people have true options to go and get maybe some job training or to be a little judicious in the job that they take. But that's not what the business interest wants, which is why you had Lindsey Graham running around saying, well, nobody will go back to work because they're all lazy and getting all this money. Even though he knows that if the employer calls you back to work and you don't go, you lose your unemployment. You don't have a choice to stay on unemployment or not. So for me, the coming weeks are really going to be about making sure that there is some kind of stimulus. The idea for me is, how do we make sure that the messaging goes out that folks push our elected leaders to do what's in our best interest, that they do what's in the best interest of the country. Because understand, whether you're doing well right now or not, if we don't do something in the coming weeks, literally weeks, we're looking at a cliff. We are looking at not just walking off a cliff, but running off a cliff. And what some economists are saying is we may not recover for a decade. And we may have systemic inequality problems for as far into the future as we can imagine. Now, again, some are okay with that. Some are okay with the idea that things can literally get much worse and it won't be a problem. I don't. I think we've got some real problems ahead of us. And it starts with who we have in the Senate. So if you're in Georgia, I hope you'll vote for the Democrats and give us a shot at getting some legislation moved through. I hope Ossoff and Warnock win, so we have at least a shot at getting something accomplished. My fear is Mitch McConnell is the Senate majority for another 4 years, and he makes, maybe not out loud, but in his head, the same proclamation he made when Obama took office: we're going to make you a one-term president, by obstructing, gridlocking, delaying, all of the tactics they did to slow any progress down. we can be back in that moment. It is scary times, and the question is, how do we get things done? I talk to state officials all the time, and they tell me the same thing. If we don't get some help from the federal government, the states are screwed. And I had someone earlier on one of our calls say, look, if we don't get money to the states and the counties to help fund their operations and help them pay their bills, we could see a major pension system collapse. And this person said, look, the big pension funds are all heavily invested in municipal bonds. Your road work, your water sewer plants, your water treatment plants, all of your sewage, your piping, all of the investments that city, county, municipal governments make, state governments make, are funded on bonds. If those collapse, our pension system could collapse because they're heavily invested in. It's supposed to be the one foolproof investment that never goes down, except for right now. So interesting times ahead. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how we get something done going forward. If you're interested, you can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. As always, it's great to be here. I appreciate you taking time for us. Again, if you have comments, you can throw some comments on our ThinkSpot page. We're still figuring it out, working out some of the bugs with the folks there at ThinkSpot, and I think we're doing real well so far. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments on the page, or you can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you taking time for us.